Hello and welcome everyone. I am on here. This is very spontaneous of me. I just came on here to actually start. I'm going to actually start doing videos um, talking about writing and the process of writing for anyone who's interested. So I uh, I wanted to talk about how to start your book. So I have gotten a lot of questions from people about how do I start my book? How do I start writing? And so I'm gonna there's different ways to start writing your book. My advice is always start from kind of like an impact point. So, for example, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, hi, Ellen. Whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, you want to start from a point that people are going to really you got to hook them. You got to hook them in that you got that first paragraph, but really you have that first sentence to hook people. And when I did my first book, I didn't know this. So in endurance, to me, endurance starts off kind of slow. I've changed it recently, but the original version started off very slow, and then I explained too many things that I just didn't need to explain up in the beginning. And this is something that I learned later on. But now the new version of endurance pretty much starts out with action. You want to put something in there that's going to hook the reader right away to make them want to continue reading. And that's going to be your momentum throughout the whole entire book. You want to keep the reader reading. So, whether you're writing something that's fiction or whether you're writing something that's nonfiction, you want to make sure it's something that's going to hook them. So, I've seen books that start off where it takes a lot. It's a slow buildup, and just think about when you go to a bookstore and you pick up a book. What are you looking for when you open that book? And that's what you gotta use to start your book. So other things about starting your book before you start your book, before you even really write anything, or you write anything, it's really up to you. You want to do some research on the whole industry. So there's a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of just a lot of scams out there. So you want to really educate yourself on everything. When I first started, I'm just going to tell you the mistakes that I made or some of the trauma that I went through is I thought the company that I published my first book under I thought I was being traditionally published. I didn't understand that to be traditionally published means that they write you a check and forward they pay you, you're not paying them. And they have basically majority of the rights over your book. You're giving up your book to them, but they'll have it edited. They'll have it, they're in control of the book cover and they're in control of the marketing and all that. That is a traditional company, and unless that traditional company is not something like Random House or you know a reputable publishing company or well-known publishing company, you may want to think twice about going that route. The other thing that I learned is that there's this thing called vanity publishing, which is what most of us know. Well, vanity publishing is not very different from self-publishing. If you have to pay a publisher to publish your book, it's vanity publishing. What they're doing is they're going to take care of all the stuff that we as authors don't really care to deal with. But and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a vanity publisher. Just that as you are aware that of where what it means. Read your contracts. Always read your contracts. And that's pretty much what I can say about that. My experience was horrible. I found out like a day before my book was to be released that it wasn't going to be edited, and I thought that was something that I paid for in my package, and I had paid about $3,000 to have my book published through them, and I thought editing was a part of it. So these are things like you have to read, you have to really, really read the fine print, ask a ton of questions, and get to understand the whole process. Sometimes you might decide that it might be better to self-publish. And it took a company called Book Surge that later became CreateSpace, that is now KDP Prints or KDP, that the workers there at Book Surge told me, like, look, you can do this on your own, minus the editing. You could do this on your own. And it was through them and their forums that they have up there that I learned how to do all the different aspects of self-publishing my books. And I love it. I have a lot of fun self-publishing my books. So I'm not against traditional publishing. I'm not against vanity publishing. It's just, I think us as authors, we need to be aware what it means and what it all entails. So the other thing about your books is something you should know, just things that you should think about as you're, plan out your book. It is good to plan. Not a lot of people plan, but it is good to plan. I wouldn't recommend planning out your story, believe it or not. I know some people that works. For me, it doesn't. My characters seem to run the book and they tell me what's going to happen. I'm just a pen for them. That's how it is for me. But and I think the only thing that really works with planning is nonfiction. Because it's nothing that's made up. So, but as far as I can see, you don't ever want to not plan your business side of your books. So no matter what route you chose, it's still a business. I think we need to switch to understanding that this is a business and it needs to be handled like a business. And that's something that a lot of authors struggle with also. So, I have a lot of fun writing different genres, writing different scenarios, and playing around with the storyline and the characters. There's the technique of kind of writing. You'd write like a traumatic scene in the beginning, and then you backtrack to what led up to there, like you see in movies. There's that style. There's I think that style is a good style. And then but I think if it doesn't catch you in the first few sentences, the people are going to put it back on the shelf. And that's what you're trying to avoid. The other thing you should know, and this kind of goes, the other thing that you should know is that you start your book with a hook and you end it with a cliffhanger. And I'm not saying like the end of the book, the end of each chapter needs to be a cliffhanger. You don't want to ever have it where the person can put your book down and feel satisfied. Like, okay, well, I read the first chapter. It was good. I'm just going to chill right now. And they can put it down, because what happens is when they can put it down, and I mean, life happens. Sometimes you have to put a book down. But if they can at least have it playing in the back of their mind to bring them back to the book, then that's good. That's really good. You never want it where they can put the book down and walk away and completely forget about it. You want it where it's always, the characters are always kind of playing in their mind, like, oh man, I wonder what happened next with May, or I wonder what happened next with Max, and all that fun stuff. So you got to keep that in mind, that your book needs to be, that's how you create a page turner. You have a hook at the end of each chapter, not a hook, a cliffhanger at the end of each chapter. You want to keep that momentum going. One of the strategies I have when I feel like my storyline is getting boring, like it's dying, it's getting kind of boring, and I don't know, or I feel like I've hit a wall. What I do is I backtrack. Because obviously somewhere I went wrong. Something went wrong. So I have to go back and I backtrack and I see, like, okay, well, maybe I should have, maybe this character should have said this or said that. But backtrack, read your story, take a break, and come back to it. And just, I used to have a box that had it had like these popsicle sticks, and it would have like scenarios or just weird random stuff on it. And I would shake that box and I would pull out a popsicle stick, and I would have to write about whatever it is. So if it's the peaches, let's say I pulled out a stick that said peaches, I would have to some way incorporate peaches or something about peaches in that book. And then sometimes that's what actually helped, bring the storyline to life, or a knife or whatever, just something very random. And it could turn out to be funny or, just kind of like, what the heck? But it works. You could probably make it yourself, or I bought mine at Barnes and Noble. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know if they still sell it. This is when I was living in Florida. So, but it was very, very useful. It was a very, very useful tool as an author, as a writer. So those are just some things that I wanted to share with everybody on, getting your first book started. If you have any questions, you can just message me and I'll be happy to answer them. And I right now I'll just give a little update on what I'm doing with one of my sites, Books, Tea, and Drama. So basically, I'm creating, I call them hybrid ebooks. And what a hybrid ebook is for me, it's an ebook, but at the beginning, at the top of the chapter, there's a play button, and it plays the entire chapter for you. And I basically put a link into my YouTube channel for the audio for the book. I did this because I'm very busy, and I try to read books, and it's hard. It's very hard. I don't know, I know there's a lot of people dealing with that. They want to read, but you're so busy. Then when you try to sit down and read, your mind is so scattered because of all the things you had to do in one day that you can't. You honestly, it's like your brain just needs to shut off. But so what I found is just having an audiobook, it's relaxing to me. It's relaxing to sit back and listen to the books and, just let the story play on or whatever. So I decided, and I found a way through one of the sites that I published through, that I can do that. So I offer it on that site. Right now, the book that's completed is Feral, and I'll put a link. I'll put a link if you're on my page, on my YouTube channel, you'll see it. It's Feral. That one, there's a link in there to the book, and that one is completely done. The one I'm working on now is Endurance. So you can watch the first 3 episodes of Endurance and listen to the audio. I know some people don't like AI. I tried my best to find the best AI voices I can find. I think they're good, and I'm enjoying it. So that's all I had to say, really. And I hope that you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And I will be back again with some more tips on writing and publishing and all the horrors I've been through and how I overcame them and share them with you. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.